Matt Donovan did not like how quiet the town square was tonight. Mystic Falls had quiet nights. Sure. But this was the wrong kind. The air felt like it was holding its breath. Matt stood near the edge of the street, keys in hand, ready to lock up the grill. The lights from the windows made warm shapes on the sidewalk. Behind him, the last few chairs were stacked. Everything looked normal. Then something new appeared, where nothing should be. A door. It was tall and red, like fresh paint, standing upright in the middle of the street. No frame, no wall, just a door, planted on the road, like someone had dropped it there. Matt stared. His brain tried to call it a prank, but his skin said it was danger. A pair of people on the far sidewalk stopped too. One girl whispered, "Is that real?" The red door did not move. It did not creak. It did not sway with the wind. Matt took a slow step forward. The handle turned by itself. The door opened inward, into darkness that did not match the street behind it. The darkness looked thick, like it had weight. A man stepped out. He was tall. His suit was perfect, like he had not walked through any mud or rain in his whole life. His shoes shined under the streetlight. His hair was neat. His face was calm, like he was already bored of this place. He looked around like he was checking a room he might buy. Then his eyes landed on Matt. The man smiled. It was an easy smile. It did not feel friendly. "Well," the man said, voice smooth and clear, "this is new." Matt's throat went dry. "Who are you?" The man tilted his head, like Matt had asked a fun question. "Before we get to that," the man said, "tell me something." He stepped closer, slow and relaxed, like he had all the time in the world. "What do you desire?" Matt blinked. "What?" The man's smile widened a little. "What do you want most? Not what you should want. Not what looks nice in public. The real thing." Matt's heart hammered. His mind flashed to things he did not want to say out loud. His mom safe, his friends alive. No more secrets, no more funerals. He clenched his keys so hard the metal bit into his palm. "I want my town back." The man looked pleased. A strong answer. On the far sidewalk, a young guy in a leather jacket laughed. Matt recognized him as one of the troublemakers who sometimes hung around the edge of town. The guy's eyes were too bright. His smile was too sharp. Vampire. The vampire walked toward the red door like he owned it. "Okay, buddy," he said. "Cute trick. Who sent you?" The man turned his gaze to him. The air between them seemed to tighten. The vampire leaned in, eyes locked on the man's. "You're going to walk away," the vampire said, voice thick with compulsion. "Right now." The man just watched him. Calm, almost amused. "No," the man said simply. The vampire's smile faltered. He tried again, harder. "You're going to..." The man lifted one finger. The vampire froze mid-word. His mouth stayed open. His eyes stayed wide. But his body locked like someone had pressed pause. He did not fall. He did not breathe. He stood there like a statue that had been caught in the act of being alive. Matt's stomach turned. He had seen vampires do impossible things. But this felt different. This felt like someone had taken the rules and folded them in half. The man stepped closer to the frozen vampire and looked him over, like he was inspecting a broken machine. "How rude," the man said softly. "Trying to take someone's choice." He snapped his fingers. The vampire slammed backward, not thrown with a punch, but moved like the space under him had decided it didn't want him there. He hit the pavement hard and slid. When he stopped, he gasped like he'd just been allowed to breathe again. The vampire scrambled up, terrified now, and ran. Matt did not blame him. A blur moved at the edge of Matt's vision. Two blurs. Two men appeared on the street like they had been dropped from the sky. Stefan Salvatore stood first, a careful shield between the stranger and the people nearby. His face was tense, eyes scanning. Damon Salvatore stood beside him with a look that said he'd already decided the stranger was a problem. Matt took a shaky breath of relief. Stefan and Damon were dangerous too, but at least Matt knew their kind of danger. Stefan's eyes locked on the red door. Then the stranger. "Who are you?" Stefan asked. The stranger's smile didn't fade. "You're asking that like you expect a normal answer." Damon's voice was sharp. "Try it anyway." The stranger looked Damon up and down, like Damon was a puzzle he might solve for fun. "Lucifer," the stranger said. Matt almost laughed from fear, because it sounded like a joke someone would tell at Halloween. Damon did not laugh. Damon's eyes narrowed. "Of course you are." Lucifer looked pleased at the doubt. "And you are?" he asked, as if introductions were polite. "Not interested," Damon said. Stefan kept his voice controlled. "You can't just show up in the middle of town and start doing this." Lucifer glanced at the red door behind him, then back at Stefan. "I didn't exactly book a flight." His eyes drifted over the street, the buildings, the people watching from behind windows. Then his gaze returned to Matt. "You said you want your town back," Lucifer said. "That's honest." Matt swallowed. "What do you want?" Lucifer's smile was small now. Not cruel, not kind, just real. "I want to know," Lucifer said, "why I'm here." A faint shiver ran through the air. Not wind, something deeper. Stefan felt it too. His shoulders tensed. Damon's hand slipped toward the inside of his jacket, where he kept weapons like other people kept wallets. Lucifer's eyes flicked to Damon's hand. "Adorable," Lucifer said. Damon froze, then forced his hand away like he'd never moved it. Lucifer turned his face slightly, as if listening to a voice far away. Something pressed against the edge of Stefan's senses, like a distant scream muffled behind a wall. And somewhere across town, Bonnie Bennett stopped walking mid-step, her breath catching in her chest as her magic flared like a warning light. Damon did not like bringing strangers into his house. He especially did not like bringing strangers into his house when the stranger had stepped out of a floating red door and shrugged off compulsion like it was a bad smell. But Stefan insisted. "Not here," Stefan had said, eyes scanning the town square. "Too many people. We need control." Control. Damon almost laughed. Still, Damon had made the call. He'd acted like he was the one in charge. That was what he did. If the world was going to fall apart, Damon wanted his hands on the steering wheel. The Salvatore boarding house loomed in the dark like it always did. Old wood, wide porch, a place full of secrets and bad decisions. Damon stepped up first and opened the front door. Then he stopped and held the edge of it like a bouncer. Lucifer paused at the threshold, as calm as ever. Damon lifted his eyebrows. "You know the rule," Damon said. "You need an invitation." Stefan shot Damon a look that said, "Really?" Damon ignored him. He wanted to see what happened. Lucifer glanced at the doorway, then at Damon, like Damon had offered him a simple math problem. "That's a charming custom," Lucifer said. "Very small town." He stepped forward. Nothing stopped him. No invisible wall, no pain, no recoil. He simply walked into the house like it belonged to him. Damon's mouth tightened. Of course. Lucifer looked around the entryway. Cozy. So many ghosts in the wood. Stefan shut the door behind them. "We need to talk." Lucifer moved into the living room without being guided. He ran his fingers along the back of a chair, then walked to the piano like he had known it would. Be there. Damon's jaw clenched. "Don't touch anything." Lucifer sat anyway. He pressed one key softly. The note rang out clean and bright in the quiet house. He smiled like he'd found something familiar in a strange place. Stefan watched him carefully. Lucifer, Stefan said, trying the name out like it might explode. Is that your real name? Lucifer looked over his shoulder, eyes calm. It's one of them. Damon leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Let me guess. You're some kind of witch. Lucifer's smile turned playful. No. A vampire, Damon tried, even though he already knew it wasn't that. No. A demon, Damon said, flat and sharp, like he was testing a blade. Lucifer's eyes gleamed for a moment. You have stories here, he said. You have labels. You have fears you keep in boxes so you can sleep at night. Damon didn't blink. What are you? Lucifer turned back to the piano. A man who dislikes cages. Stefan took a slow breath. Why are you here? Lucifer's fingers hovered over the keys, then pressed a small, simple chord. I didn't choose your town, he said. Something opened. I stepped through. Now I'm curious. Damon's eyes narrowed. Curiosity gets people killed. Lucifer looked at him again, and the house seemed to go very still. Then don't be interesting enough to kill, Lucifer said. Stefan stepped forward, voice firm. No threats. Lucifer's expression softened, like Stefan had reminded him of a rule he might respect. Not a threat, Lucifer said. A fact. The front door opened. Elena Gilbert walked in with Stefan's invitation, her face tense but steady. Caroline followed close behind her, eyes scanning every corner. Alaric came last, a crossbow case on his shoulder, and a look on his face that said he was already tired. Damon's gaze flicked to Elena. Wonderful. Bring the human. Elena ignored him. She stared at Lucifer. Lucifer turned on the piano bench to face them, like he was welcoming guests. Elena's heart beat hard in her ears. The stranger was beautiful in the way a sharp knife was beautiful. Clean. Dangerous. Too sure of itself. What happened in the square? Elena asked. Lucifer met her eyes without flinching. Someone tried to steal my choice, he said. I corrected them. Caroline's voice was tight. You froze a vampire. Lucifer nodded, as if she'd said the sky was blue. Briefly. Alaric stepped forward, careful. You're not from around here. Lucifer's mouth twitched. Well observed. Alaric's grip tightened on the strap of his crossbow case. He kept his voice steady anyway. What do you want in Mystic Falls? Lucifer leaned back, relaxed. To understand the rules of this world, he said. And to see if they're worth anything? Damon's laugh was short and cold. Our rules aren't for your entertainment. Lucifer's gaze slid to Damon again. Everything is entertainment, he said. The question is whether it is also meaningful. Stefan cut in, trying to keep the room from turning into a fight. We have witches. We have vampires. We have things you don't even know yet. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. Oh, I know you have monsters. Elena's voice stayed steady, even though her hands wanted to shake. Then you understand, she said. Monsters can choose to be better. Lucifer studied her, like he was reading a book. You believe that, he said. It keeps you alive. Caroline moved closer to Elena, protective. Don't do that, Caroline snapped. Don't talk like you know her. Lucifer looked honestly surprised, then amused. I only asked the simplest question, he said. What do you desire? And everyone here is built out of the answers they're afraid to admit. Damon pushed off the wall. Okay, here's my answer. He stepped closer, voice low. I desire you gone. Lucifer smiled wider. There it is. Damon's eyes flashed. He moved fast, faster than most humans could track. His hand snapped up toward Lucifer's throat, aiming to pin him against the piano. Lucifer didn't move. Damon's hand stopped an inch from Lucifer's neck, as if it had hit invisible glass. Damon's face tightened. He pushed harder. His arm shook. It was like trying to shove a truck with one hand. Lucifer tilted his head. "You're strong," he said, almost kindly. "For what you are." Damon's teeth bared. "Let me go." Lucifer's eyes stayed calm. "No." Stefan grabbed Damon's shoulder. "Damon, stop!" Damon yanked back. His arm came free. He stepped away, breathing hard, eyes furious. Lucifer stood smoothly, like he'd been sitting at a cafe, not holding a vampire back with nothing. Bonnie arrived then, like the night had called her. She didn't knock. She didn't wait for permission. She walked in with her, shoulders squared and her magic already stirring under her skin. Her eyes locked on Lucifer, and her breath caught. It wasn't just that he felt powerful. Klaus felt powerful. Originals felt powerful. Even some witches felt like storms. Lucifer felt like a sun behind a curtain. Bonnie lifted her chin. "What are you?" Lucifer's smile turned gentle in a way that made Bonnie more nervous, not less. "I'm someone who's been blamed for many things," he said. Bonnie didn't like that answer. She raised her hand and started a spell, quiet and controlled. A soft pulse of magic moved from her palm, invisible but real, like a wave rolling through the room. The wave reached Lucifer. For a heartbeat, Bonnie's magic held. Then it strained, like a rope pulled too tight. Bonnie's eyes widened. Her magic tried to read him and slipped, not because he hid, but because he was too much. Her head throbbed. She tasted metal in her mouth. She fought the panic and pulled back before her. Spell snapped. Bonnie lowered her hand, breathing hard. "You're not just strong," she said. "You're not even the same kind of thing." Lucifer watched her with interest. "You have talent," he said. "And you have rules." Bonnie wiped at her lip. There was a tiny spot of blood. She ignored it. "Why are you here?" she demanded. Lucifer's gaze drifted to the window, as if he could see beyond the town. "Because a door opened," he said. "And when a door opens, I walk through it." Damon muttered, "Of course you do." Alaric looked between them. "Doors don't just open between worlds," he said, voice tight. Bonnie's stomach sank because she felt it too. Not from logic, from magic. Something had shifted. Something had noticed. Bonnie looked at Stefan, then Elena. "My magic spiked when he arrived," she said. "And now it feels like the edge between things is thinner." Stefan frowned. "Between what?" Bonnie swallowed. "Between life and what comes after." The room went quiet. Lucifer's eyes sharpened, just a little. "Now that," he said, "is interesting." Damon's voice was a warning. "No, don't say it like that." Lucifer turned to Damon. "You're afraid I'll make it worse," Lucifer said. Damon's eyes narrowed. "I'm afraid you'll make it fun." Lucifer smiled, like Damon had finally said something honest. Caroline crossed her arms. "Okay," she said, forcing control into her voice. "New rule. You don't do anything in this town without us knowing." Lucifer blinked, then laughed softly. "You're trying to put a leash on me," he said. Caroline didn't flinch. "I'm trying to protect people." Lucifer's gaze held hers. For a second, Caroline felt like he could see every fear she'd ever hidden behind a smile. Then he nodded once, like he respected the attempt. "Fine," Lucifer said. "Let's play your game." Stefan stepped in, calm but firm. "We don't know you," he said. "We'll work with you if you don't hurt anyone. But we're watching." Damon added, "And I'm planning." Lucifer's smile returned. "I assumed you were," he said. Bonnie's phone buzzed. She looked down. A text from someone she didn't trust. A number she didn't recognize. Only 3 words. "He can't be compelled." Bonnie's chest tightened. Someone else already knew. Someone was already moving. Far from the boarding house in the dark outside town, Klaus Mikkelsen listened to a terrified vampire stammer about a man with a red door. Klaus's mouth curled into a slow, curious smile. And somewhere else, someone with older eyes watched Mystic Falls like it was a board game. Catherine Pierce whispered to herself, almost delighted. "Now this," she said, "is going to be fun." Back in the boarding house, Bonnie stared at Lucifer, and for the first time, she felt something colder than fear, a pressure at the edge of her senses. Not Lucifer. Something beyond him, like a hand pressing against a thin wall, waiting for it to break. By the next day, Mystic Falls felt wrong. Caroline noticed first because Caroline noticed everything. She walked into the school hallway and saw a girl crying by her locker. That wasn't unusual. Teenagers cried. Mystic Falls had enough reasons. But this wasn't normal crying. The girl's eyes were wild. She was talking too fast, like the words were spilling out without permission. "I hate her," the girl said, pointing at her own best friend down the hall. "I hate her because she's prettier, and everyone likes her more, and I'm tired of pretending I'm not jealous." The best friend froze, shocked. Caroline stopped walking. Confessions happened in Mystic Falls. Secrets came out. But not like this. Not in public. Not with zero control. Caroline stepped closer. "Hey," she said softly. "Breathe. It's okay." The girl's face twisted. "No, it's not okay," she snapped. "I'm not okay. None of us are okay. We're all lying all the time." Caroline felt a prickling on her skin, a hum in the air, like a low sound you couldn't quite hear, but your body still felt. She turned her head slowly, scanning. Other students were arguing, crying, laughing too loudly, saying things that should have stayed hidden. A teacher shouted at a kid, "You'll never be good enough," then covered his mouth like he hadn't meant to say it. Caroline's throat tightened. This was not vampire drama. This was not a witch spell she recognized. This felt like something digging its fingers into people's minds. Caroline pulled out her phone and texted the group. "Something's wrong. People are spilling. Like truth is leaking out of them." A minute later, Damon texted back, "Keep them alive. Don't get bitten. I'm on my way." Another message came from Bonnie. "I feel it too. It's getting stronger near the town square." Caroline stared at her screen, then at the hallway full of cracking people and made a choice. She moved. Fast. She guided students into classrooms. She closed doors. She used her vampire speed in quick flashes no one could fully track. She smiled and lied in the nicest way possible, because sometimes lying kept people safe. "Fire drill," she told a teacher. "It's a drill. It's fine." But in her chest, fear was rising like a tide, because the pressure in the air felt familiar in the worst way. It felt like compulsion. Not vampire compulsion. Something older. Meaner. Something that did not ask. Damon drove too fast. That was normal for Damon. What wasn't normal was how his hands tightened on the steering wheel, as if he could choke the car into going faster. Stefan sat in the passenger seat, jaw set, eyes scanning the road like he expected something to jump out. They'd left Lucifer at the boarding house with Alaric. Damon didn't like it. Damon trusted Alaric, but Damon didn't trust anyone to stand between a god-level stranger and whatever mood he might be in. Damon had tried another test before leaving. He'd offered Lucifer a glass of bourbon with vervain mixed in. Lucifer had sniffed it and smiled. "You want to poison me?" Lucifer had said, like it was adorable. Damon had held his smile. "It's not poison, it's seasoning." Lucifer had taken the glass anyway, sipped it, then put it down. "It tastes like fear," Lucifer had said. Damon had wanted to smash the glass against the wall. Instead, he'd said, "Good. Drink up." Lucifer had chuckled and walked away like Damon was a child playing soldier. Now Damon's phone buzzed again. Stefan read it over Damon's shoulder. "Bonnie says it's stronger near the square." Damon's eyes narrowed. "Of course it is." Stefan's voice was quiet. "Do you think it's connected to him?" Damon didn't answer right away, because the truth was simple and ugly. Everything was connected to Lucifer now. Damon's phone buzzed again. A new number. No name. Just a message. "You brought a rival into my house." Damon's blood went cold. Stefan saw his face. "What?" Damon showed him the screen. Stefan's eyes narrowed. "Who is that?" Damon's voice was low. "I don't know." But as he read the words again, he felt something like a touch behind his eyes. A whisper that wasn't sound. A presence that wasn't in the car. Like something was leaning close to his mind and smiling. Damon gripped the wheel harder. "Whatever you are," Damon muttered, "get out of my head." The whisper didn't leave. It pressed. And then, for half a second, Damon saw something that wasn't the road. A dark place, a long hallway, chains on the floor, a red glow that made the shadows look alive. Then it was gone. Damon breathed hard through his nose, furious. Stefan stared at him. "Damon?" Damon forced his eyes back on the road. "Drive faster," he said. Stefan's voice sharpened. "You are driving." Damon's smile was all teeth. "Then pray." The Founders' event was supposed to be safe. Elena stood under string lights in the town square and tried to pretend the world was normal. There were booths, music, a banner with the Founders' seal, people in nice clothes smiling too hard. Elena's heart didn't believe any of it. She watched a couple arguing near the fountain. Their voices were too loud. "I don't even love you," the woman snapped, eyes wet. "I just didn't want to be alone." The man's face crumpled. "Why would you say that?" "I don't know," she cried. "It just came out." Elena's stomach twisted. Bonnie stood a few steps away, hands tucked in her jacket pockets like she was cold. But Elena knew Bonnie wasn't cold. Bonnie was bracing. Bonnie's eyes were focused on the air itself, like she could see the invisible pressure building. "It's here," Bonnie whispered. Elena swallowed. "What is it?" Bonnie shook her head. "Not a vampire. Not a normal spirit. It feels like..." She winced. "Like something is pulling on people's worst parts." Caroline arrived fast, slipping into place beside Elena like a guard. Her smile was strained. "School is a mess," she said. "People are saying everything." Elena's voice was tight. "Can we stop it?" Bonnie's eyes flicked to the center of the square. "Maybe," she said, "if I can find the source." A scream cut through the music. Everyone turned. A man had shoved another man near the booth line. Not hard enough to kill, hard enough to start panic. The second man swung back. Someone fell into a table. Glass shattered. Then it spread, like one spark landing in dry grass. People shouted. People cried. People pushed. Old grudges surfaced like they'd been waiting for this moment. Elena's chest tightened. "This is going to get people killed." Caroline's face hardened. "Then we move?" Caroline blurred into action, guiding people away from the center, pushing them toward the edges, breaking lines of sight. Elena followed, grabbing hands, pulling people back, telling them to breathe, telling them it was going to be okay. Bonnie stepped forward, eyes closed, whispering a spell under her breath. The air around her trembled. For a moment, Elena felt a thin layer of calm settle like a blanket. Then it tore. Bonnie gasped, stumbling back like someone had shoved her from the inside. Her eyes snapped open, wide. "It pushed back," she said, voice shaking. It pushed back! Elena grabbed her arm. Bonnie! Bonnie's gaze lifted, straight to the center of the square. Elena followed her gaze and saw the space between the fountain and the banner grow darker, like the lights were losing courage. Then a voice spoke, not from a mouth, from inside Elena's head, inside everyone's head. You want truth? I give it. You want desire? I take it. Elena froze, breath caught in her throat. Caroline's eyes widened. Did you? Bonnie's face went pale. That's not me. The voice continued, calm and pleased. Mystic Falls is a table full of hungry mouths. I have fed here for a long time. Elena's hands shook. She had faced monsters. She had faced originals. She had faced death. But this felt like something that didn't need teeth to bite. Bonnie's lips moved. Who are you? A soft laugh echoed in their minds. Names are for bargains. A new wave hit. Elena felt it like a hand pressing on her chest. Not pain, pressure, a sudden urge to confess everything, to scream, to run, to hurt. She clenched her jaw hard enough to ache. Caroline grabbed Elena's shoulder. Elena, Caroline said, voice low and sharp, look at me. Stay with me. Elena blinked, forcing her focus to Caroline's eyes. Caroline's face was tense, but controlled. Caroline had always been good at control. That was the difference between surviving and breaking. Then Damon and Stefan arrived, like storms. Damon's eyes scanned the square, taking in the chaos in a single sharp sweep. Stefan's face tightened when he saw people pushing and screaming. Damon moved to Elena and Bonnie fast. Tell me, he said, that this isn't what I think it is. Bonnie swallowed. It's in everyone's heads, she said. It's like compulsion, but bigger. Damon's jaw clenched. Great. Stefan looked around, voice controlled. We need to get civilians out. Caroline snapped. Working on it. The voice spoke again, closer now, like it had leaned in. You brought him. Damon's eyes flashed. You're talking to me. Of course I am. Stefan's gaze sharpened. Who did we bring? Damon didn't want to say it out loud, because saying it made it real. Lucifer. As if the world had heard the name in Damon's mind, the air shifted. The chaos didn't stop, but it hesitated. Like even the madness noticed something new. People's shouting dipped for a heartbeat. And then a man walked into the square from the side street, calm as ever, like he'd taken a leisurely stroll. Lucifer. He moved through panicking people without touching them. They seemed to step aside without knowing why, like their bodies chose to avoid him before their minds could argue. He looked at the scene with mild interest, like he was watching a play with sloppy actors. Then his gaze lifted, not to any one person, but to the space where the voice felt strongest. Lucifer's smile faded, not into fear, into offense. Ah, Lucifer said softly. There you are. Bonnie's breath caught. You can hear it? Lucifer glanced at her. I can hear everything, he said. Most of it is boring. Damon stepped closer, voice low. Fix it. Lucifer looked at Damon like Damon had demanded the sunrise. Then Lucifer stepped into the center of the square and spoke in a clear voice that cut through the noise. Enough. It wasn't loud. Didn't need to be. The screaming stopped. Not fully. Some people still cried. Some still shook. But the violent surge paused like a beast had been told to sit. Elena stared. Caroline's eyes widened. Stefan's mouth parted slightly, stunned despite himself. Bonnie felt her magic tremble, like it recognized authority it didn't understand. Lucifer looked upward, eyes focused on something no one else could see. You're doing a poor job, Lucifer said. You're sloppy. The voice laughed again inside their heads. And you, are arrogant. Lucifer's smile returned, sharp. Yes, he said, but I've earned it. Bonnie's skin prickled as her senses shifted. For a moment, the world seemed to blur at the edges. Then she felt it. Lucifer wasn't just talking to the voice. He was stepping toward it in a way that wasn't physical, like his mind was walking through a door only he could see. Lucifer stood in a place that wasn't the town square. It wasn't a real place. Not in the human sense. It was a corridor made of shadow and red light. The air tasted like old fear. The floor felt like it remembered every footstep that had ever run from guilt. Lucifer's expression stayed calm, but his eyes were sharp. A presence waited at the end of the corridor. Not a body, a will, a hunger, a mind that had learned how to chew souls without needing claws. So the king arrives, the presence said, voice smooth inside the space. Lucifer's smile was cold. King? He echoed. No. I resigned. The presence hummed, pleased. You ran. Lucifer's eyes narrowed. I left, he corrected. There's a difference. A soft laugh. You were blamed. You were hated. And you still want to be seen as noble. Lucifer walked forward, hands relaxed at his sides. You want to hook me with shame, he said. How unoriginal. The corridor shifted. Images flickered in the red light. Faces, screams, a throne, a crown made of accusation. Lucifer didn't flinch. He lifted, his chin slightly, like he was bored with cheap tricks. You feed on guilt, Lucifer said, on desire, on fear. You dress it up like justice. And you don't? The presence purred. Lucifer's smile widened. I never pretended, he said. The presence pressed closer, not physically, but in weight. Lucifer felt it try to slide into him, to find a crack, to claim him. It wanted control. Lucifer hated control more than anything. He spoke, and the words did not sound loud, but they hit the space like a law being written. No one owns a soul, Lucifer said, without consent. The corridor shook. The red light flickered. For a moment, the presence faltered, like it had been slapped by a rule it didn't expect. Then it hissed with amusement instead of fear. This world has rules, Lucifer, not yours. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. Rules are just agreements, he said, and agreements can be rewritten. He took one more step. The corridor bent around him like it wanted to. Boo! But it resisted. The presence surged, trying again, harder, pushing a wave of pressure that felt like 1,000 confessions forced through one throat. Lucifer didn't struggle. He simply looked at it, eyes steady. And the pressure stopped, like it had hit a wall made of certainty. You cannot kill me here, the presence said, voice colder now. Not without breaking what holds this town together. Lucifer smiled, and it wasn't kind. Oh, I know, he said. That's why you're still speaking. The presence laughed again, but it had less joy in it. Then we have a problem. Lucifer's eyes narrowed. No, he said. You have a problem. He turned his head slightly, as if listening past the corridor, back to the town. He could feel the humans, their fear, their secrets, their fragile bodies. He could feel Bonnie's magic shaking with strain. He could feel Damon's anger like a knife. Lucifer breathed out once. Then he leaned forward slightly, as if speaking into the presence's ear. Stay out of my games, Lucifer said softly, and I won't step on your little feeding ground. The presence went still. Then it spoke, voice suddenly sweet. You think you're the only devil in the room. Lucifer's smile returned, bright and dangerous. I know I'm not, Lucifer said. The corridor snapped like a rubber band being released. Bonnie gasped as the pressure in the square released, not gone, but pulled back. People stumbled, blinking like they'd woken from a bad dream. A woman looked at her own hands and started crying, whispering, "What did I say? What did I do?" Caroline moved fast, guiding her away, keeping her voice gentle. Stefan grabbed a man before he could shove someone into the fountain. "Hey," Stefan said, steady. "Breathe. Look at me." Damon's eyes stayed locked on Lucifer. Lucifer stood in the center of the square, like a statue that had decided to be human for a moment. His expression was calm. Too calm. Damon stepped forward. "What was that?" Lucifer glanced at him. "A parasite," he said. "A bully with a talent for whispers." Bonnie swallowed hard. "It knew you," she said. Lucifer's smile flickered. "It knows of me," he said. "Everyone who plays in the dark eventually hears my name." Elena stepped closer, voice shaking but brave. "Is it gone?" Lucifer looked at her with a quiet honesty that made her stomach twist. "No," Lucifer said. "It retreated." Damon's jaw clenched. "So it's still here?" Lucifer nodded. "Yes." Stefan's voice tightened. "Why did it start now?" Bonnie's eyes narrowed, pain still in her temples. "Because he arrived," she whispered. The balance shifted. Lucifer's eyes drifted over the town, the people, the fragile little lives trying to pretend they were normal. Then he looked back at Damon. "It noticed an intruder," Lucifer said. "It doesn't like competition." Damon's voice was low. "And what are you going to do about it?" Lucifer's smile turned faint, almost amused again, like Damon had asked a question he'd been waiting for. "I'm going to learn the rules of your afterlife," Lucifer said. "Because someone down there thinks they get to call themselves a king." Bonnie's chest tightened. "That's dangerous," Lucifer looked at her. "Everything meaningful is dangerous," he said simply. A slow clap came from the edge of the square. Not loud, not fast, just enough to make Damon's head snap toward it. A man stood in the shadow of a booth, watching with bright, curious eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. Klaus Mikkelsen. He met Damon's stare and lifted his hand slightly, like he was innocent. "What a lovely town event," Klaus said smoothly. His gaze slid to Lucifer. "And what a very interesting guest." Lucifer turned his head toward Klaus, studying him with open interest. Klaus smiled wider, like he'd been invited into a new game. Damon felt it then. Clear, sharp, certain. This wasn't just a problem. This was the start of a new era of problems. And somewhere far beyond the town, in a place no human could see, a presence watched and smiled without a mouth. "Soon," it promised. "Soon, I will make you choose." Morning came like it always did in Mystic Falls. The sun rose, birds made noise, people went to work, and the town pretended it had not almost torn itself apart the night before. But the pretending was thinner now. Caroline stood in the school office with a clipboard she did not need. Her eyes moved across the hallway through the glass window. Students walked in slow groups. Some stared at the floor. Some stared at each other, like they were afraid words might jump out again. A teacher spoke too loudly near the lockers. "Everyone is just tired," he said, like if he repeated it enough, it would become true. Caroline forced her face into a normal smile and nodded. Inside, she felt tight. People had confessed things they could not take back. Some apologized. Some didn't. Some didn't even remember exactly what they had said, only the look on someone else's face after. Caroline had seen vampires lose control before. She had seen witches overload spells. She had never seen a whole town pushed into honesty like it was being squeezed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Elena. "Meeting at the boarding house." Now. Caroline didn't hesitate. She handed the clipboard to someone else, walked out and moved fast. Not vampire blur fast, just fast enough to get there without drawing eyes. Mystic Falls did not need more eyes right now. Damon Salvatore had 3 empty journals open on the table. He didn't care about writing. He cared about planning. The journals were just a neat way to stack his thoughts before his thoughts stacked bodies. He had scribbled titles across the top of each page. What he is. What he wants. How to kill it if we must. So far, the 3rd page was mostly blank. That made Damon angry. Lucifer sat in the living room like he had been born there. He had a glass of bourbon in hand. This time, Damon had not seasoned it. Damon had tried another test at breakfast. He had tossed a handful of vervain at Lucifer like it was a joke. The green leaves had landed on Lucifer's sleeve, then slid off as if they didn't want to touch him. Lucifer had looked down, then back up at Damon. "Are you trying to ward me like a bad spirit?" Lucifer had asked. Damon had leaned on the kitchen counter. "I'm trying everything," he said. "It's a hobby." Lucifer's eyes had warmed with amusement. "A charming hobby," he'd said. "You humans and your little rules." "I'm not human," Damon had snapped. Lucifer had sipped his drink. "Compared to me," he'd said, "you are." Now Damon stood near the table, jaw tight, eyes watching Lucifer like he expected him to explode. Stefan stood near the fireplace, arms crossed, trying to look calm. Stefan was calm for other people. Damon knew the signs. Stefan's shoulders were too still. His eyes were too sharp. Bonnie sat on the couch, her hands clasped together so tightly her knuckles looked pale. She hadn't slept. Elena stood by the window. She watched cars pass. She watched the world keep moving. It made her want to scream. Alaric came in carrying a folder full of notes from the council. He tossed it onto the table with a sigh. "The official story is a gas leak," Alaric said. Damon snorted. "A gas leak made people confess their deepest secrets?" Alaric rubbed his face. "They're not trying to make sense. They're trying to make it go away." Caroline arrived a second later, breath steady, eyes tired. Lucifer glanced at her and smiled like he enjoyed punctuality. "Ah," he said, "the one who holds the group together." Caroline stiffened. "You don't know me." Lucifer's eyes flicked over her face. "You organize panic," he said. "You hide fear behind control. It works." Caroline's voice sharpened. "Stop doing that." Lucifer lifted his hands lightly. "I'm not doing anything," he said. "I'm observing." Damon pointed at him. "That," Damon said. "That is doing something." Lucifer's smile widened. "Words," he said. "So dramatic." Bonnie leaned forward, voice rough. "Last night I felt something," she said. "It wasn't just mind magic. It was tied to the other side, to death." Lucifer's attention turned to her, serious now. "Yes," he said. "Your afterlife is odd." Elena turned from the window. "What did you mean when you said it was a parasite?" she asked. Lucifer looked at her. His face softened in a way that made Elena uneasy. It was too gentle for his power. "It feeds," Lucifer said, "on guilt, on desire, on the worst choices. It pushes people. Then it takes what spills out." Bonnie swallowed. "Souls," she said. Lucifer nodded once. "It thinks it owns them," he said. Stefan's voice stayed steady. "Do you know what it is?" Lucifer's mouth curved. "Not fully," he admitted, "but it spoke like someone who has worn a crown for a long time." Damon's fingers drummed on the table. "So, what?" he asked. "We have a mind demon in the air, and you're going to, what, lecture it?" Lucifer looked at Damon like Damon had asked him to mop a floor. "I'm going to learn your rules," Lucifer said, "because the moment a system exists, someone is abusing it." Bonnie's eyes narrowed. "And when you learn them?" she asked. Lucifer's gaze held hers. "Then I decide if I care," he said. The room went quiet. Elena took a step forward. "People could die," she said. Lucifer's eyes didn't move. People die every day, he said. The question is whether their choices are theirs. Damon's voice went low. Don't make this a philosophy class, he said. We need a plan. Stefan stepped between them, trying to keep the air from sparking. We do need a plan, he said. But we also need to understand the enemy. Bonnie nodded. If it's tied to the afterlife, she said, we can't just stake it. We can't just burn it. We need to find where it's anchored. Alaric opened his folder. The council is scared, he said. Sheriff Forbes is trying to keep people calm. But there are already rumors. People think the town is cursed. Caroline's face tightened. They're not wrong, she said. Lucifer set his glass down and stood. The room seemed smaller with him standing. He walked toward the piano like he was pulled by habit. He pressed one key. The note sounded too clean for the mood. Then he turned back. I can help, Lucifer said. But you'll hate how I do it. Bonnie's voice was sharp. You mean deals? Lucifer smiled. I mean choices, he corrected. You may not like the choice, but it will be yours. Damon raised a hand. No, he said. No deals. No bargains. No, tell me what you desire. Lucifer tilted his head. You keep trying to control me, he said, almost amused again. It's adorable. Damon's eyes flashed. And you keep pretending you're the adult in the room, he snapped. News flash. You're the problem. Lucifer's gaze sharpened. For a second, the air felt heavy. Then Lucifer's expression eased. I may be a problem, he said, but I'm not your problem. He walked closer to Damon until they were only a few feet apart. Damon didn't back up. Lucifer's voice dropped, calm and clear. Your problem is that you live in a town built on lies, he said. And now something is peeling those lies open to eat what's inside. Damon's jaw clenched. Lucifer looked past Damon to Elena. And you, he said softly, keep believing monsters can be better. Elena's throat tightened. They can, she said. Lucifer's smile was small. Perhaps, he said, but better is not the same as safe. Stefan exhaled slowly. We need everyone on the same side, he said, at least for now. Lucifer's eyes returned to Stefan. I'm not on sides, he said. I'm on principles. Caroline crossed her arms. And what is your principle? She asked. Lucifer didn't hesitate. Consent, he said. Choice. Free will. Bonnie's lips pressed together. And if the only way to stop it is to break someone's will? She asked. Lucifer's gaze held hers. Then you're no better than it is, he said. The words hit hard because Bonnie already knew how close she had come to that line before. Damon scoffed, but his eyes stayed wary. Great, he muttered. We've got a moral devil. Lucifer smiled. Flattery, he said. Across town, in a quiet house that had seen too much death, Klaus Mikkelsen poured himself a drink he didn't need. He listened to the frightened report from a vampire who had been near the square. The vampire's voice shook. He just stood there, the vampire said. Like none of us mattered. Like the rules didn't. Klaus waved a hand. Yes, yes. And then you ran, he said, bored of the details. The vampire swallowed. He called himself Lucifer. Klaus's eyes brightened with interest, not fear. Interest. Lucifer, Klaus repeated. He tasted the name like it was wine. One of Klaus's people asked, Do you think it's a trick? Klaus smiled. Everything is a trick, he said. The question is whether it's a trick I can use. He walked to the window and looked out at the town. Mystic Falls was a small pond. Klaus had been the biggest fish in it for too long. Now something larger had dropped a shadow across the water. Klaus's smile widened. He liked problems. Problems made life feel real. Find out where he sleeps, Klaus said. The vampire hesitated. We can't get close. Klaus's tone stayed smooth. Then don't get close, he said. Get clever. He lifted his glass. If this Lucifer is truly beyond compulsion, he murmured, then perhaps we must do what humans do. Someone asked, what do humans do? Klaus's eyes gleamed. We offer, he said. We tempt. We bargain. He took a sip. And we watch for what he desires. Catherine Pierce sat in a motel room with the curtains half closed. She watched the street through a thin gap, like she was watching prey. She had been running for so long that stillness felt dangerous. But tonight, she didn't feel like running. Tonight, she felt like smiling. A stranger had stepped into her town and made Damon Salvatore look like a nervous puppy. That alone was worth popcorn if Catherine ever ate popcorn. She turned her phone in her hand. She had already sent one message to Bonnie from a fake number. She knew it had landed. She knew it had frightened them. Now she typed, another. If he is real, then your town just became a battlefield. She didn't send it yet. She waited. Catherine always waited. She liked timing. Catherine leaned back on the bed and let the thought roll around in her mind. Lucifer. If he was lying, he was bold. If he wasn't lying, then Catherine had just found a ladder to climb out of every cage she had ever been shoved into. Klaus, originals, witches, curses, hunters. All of it had rules. This man didn't. Catherine's smile widened. Oh, she whispered to the empty room. This is going to be fun. Bonnie tried to do a simple protection spell that afternoon and nearly collapsed. She stood on the Bennett property in the quiet space between trees and drew a small circle in dirt. She whispered words her Grams had taught her. The air warmed, like it always did when magic listened. Then something tugged. Not the spell, not the wind. It felt like someone had grabbed the other end of her magic and pulled. Bonnie's stomach turned. She stumbled back, hand flying to her head. She saw a flash of that red corridor again, not with her eyes, with her mind, like a memory trying to push itself into her thoughts. Bonnie breathed hard. No, she whispered. Not now. Her phone buzzed. Damon. Meet at the house. Now. Bonnie's hands shook as she texted back. Something is pulling. The barrier is thinner. Then, before she could stop herself, she typed one more sentence. I think it can reach us anytime it wants. Bonnie stared at the message after it sent. Fear tried to climb up her throat. Bonnie pushed it down. She walked back toward town, jaw set, because fear did not get to make choices for her. That night, Elena sat on the stairs inside the boarding house, arms around her knees. The house was quieter than usual. Even Damon had stopped making sharp jokes for a while. Stefan sat beside her, close but not touching. He didn't force comfort. He offered it. Elena stared at the floor. I keep thinking about what he said, she whispered. Stefan's voice was gentle. About choice? Elena nodded. He said people die every day, she said. Like it didn't matter. Stefan exhaled slowly. Maybe it doesn't matter to him, he said. Elena's eyes stung. Then why did he stop it in the square? She asked. He didn't have to. Stefan didn't answer right away, because that question was the core of everything now. Why would a being like Lucifer help them? What did he want? Stefan's voice stayed quiet. Maybe he hates control, he said. Maybe he hates seeing someone steal free will. Elena swallowed. Or maybe he just hates competition, she said. Stefan's jaw tightened slightly. Maybe, he admitted. Elena looked up at him. Do you trust him? She asked. Stefan's eyes softened with sadness. I don't know, he said honestly. I want to. But wanting to doesn't make it safe. Elena's voice dropped. If we don't trust him, she said, then what do we do when that thing comes back? Stefan didn't have an answer. Above them, in the living room, Damon's voice cut through the quiet. I know you're listening, Damon said. Elena and Stefan stood and moved toward the sound. Lucifer stood near the piano again, hands loosely at his sides. Alaric was nearby, watching like a guard. Damon faced Lucifer with a small wooden box in his hand. What is that? Alaric asked, already tense. Damon opened the box and pulled out a small object wrapped in cloth. A white ash stake. Alaric's eyes widened. Damon! Damon didn't look away from Lucifer. We've got rules, Damon said, even for originals. Lucifer's eyes flicked to the stake, then back to Damon. Ah, he said. You found a sharper stick. Damon's mouth tightened. Stand still. Lucifer smiled. No. Damon moved fast, lunging in with vampire speed, driving the stake toward Lucifer's chest. The stake stopped in the air, not against skin, against nothing. Like the world itself had placed a hand between wood and body. Damon pushed harder. His arm trembled. Lucifer leaned in slightly, eyes amused. If you're hoping this will work because it's special wood, he said, I assure you. Damon snarled and shoved. The stake snapped in half. The sound cracked through the room. Damon froze, staring at the broken pieces in his hand like he couldn't accept it. Lucifer's smile softened, almost gentle. You're trying, he said. That's sweet. Damon's face twisted with anger and something close to fear. Stop calling it sweet, he snapped. Lucifer stepped past Damon without touching him, walking toward the window as if the fight had been nothing. Damon's voice shook with rage. We can't stop you, he said. Lucifer looked back over his shoulder. Correct, he said. Bonnie stepped into the room then, eyes tired, jaw hard. But we might have to stop what's coming, she said. Lucifer's gaze turned to her. Yes, he said, calm. And it will come back. Bonnie's voice dropped. It can reach into us, she said. It can push us. Lucifer's face stayed unreadable. Then fortify your minds, he said. Caroline snapped. That's not advice. That's a slogan. Lucifer's smile returned. I'm not your teacher, he said. Bonnie stepped closer anyway. If you know how it works, she said. Tell us. Lucifer looked at Bonnie with honest focus now. It's anchored to your system, he said. To your death rules. And that means you can't fight it like you fight vampires. Alaric's voice was low. So, how do we fight it? He asked. Lucifer's eyes gleamed faintly. We go where it feeds, he said. We look at the structure beneath your world. Bonnie's stomach tightened. The other side, she whispered. Lucifer nodded. Or whatever you call it, he said. The thin place, the back room, the sewer under the palace. Damon's voice was sharp. And you want Bonnie to open a door there, he said. Lucifer's gaze shifted to Damon. I want Bonnie to help me map it, he said, to see where the hooks are. Bonnie's eyes narrowed. This will cost, she said. Lucifer's expression didn't change. Everything costs, he replied. Stefan stepped forward. No one sacrifices themselves, he said, firm. Bonnie looked at him. Stefan, she said quietly. We've been saying that for years. Damon's jaw clenched. Over my dead body, he muttered. Lucifer's eyes flicked to Damon. Oh, please, he said. That's hardly a barrier for you. Damon glared, but he didn't argue, because everyone felt it now. The air pressure, the thinness, like the world's seams were loosening. And somewhere, far away but also very close, a mind smiled. That night, Elena fell asleep for 1 hour. In that hour, she dreamed of a long hallway with red light. In the dream, a voice whispered gently, like a friend. "You want everyone safe." Elena tried to speak, but the words stuck. The voice continued. "You want to stop monsters?" Elena's chest tightened. "Then let me help you." Elena's eyes snapped open. She sat up, breathing hard, skin cold with sweat. Her room was dark, quiet. But in the silence, she felt something on her. Not a hand. A mark. Like an invisible thread tied around her soul. Elena's throat tightened as she realized the truth. The thing was no longer just pushing the town. It had chosen a target. Her. The next day, Elena tried to act normal. She failed. She stood in the kitchen at the boarding house, holding a mug she wasn't drinking from. Her hands felt numb. Her mind kept flicking back to the dream. The hallway. The red light. The voice that sounded kind. Elena glanced at Lucifer across the room. He leaned against the doorway like he had done it 1,000 times. He watched the room like he was watching a chessboard. Elena forced herself to speak. "I had a dream," she said. Everyone looked at her. Bonnie's face tightened. "What kind of dream?" she asked. Elena swallowed. "A place," she said. "A hallway. Red light. And a voice." Bonnie's eyes widened. "That's it," she whispered. "That's the same feeling." Damon's jaw clenched. "It's in her head," he said, voice low with anger. Lucifer pushed off the doorway and walked closer, calm and focused. "Not just her head," he said. "Her soul." Elena's stomach dropped. "Can it take me?" she whispered. Lucifer studied her for a moment. "It can try," he said. "It already has a thread on you. It will tug." Stefan stepped closer to Elena. "We won't let it," he said. Lucifer's gaze slid to Stefan. "Your confidence is charming," he said. "But you can't punch a hook out of a soul." Bonnie's voice was tight. "We have to cut the thread," she said. Damon's eyes flashed. "How?" Lucifer's voice was calm. "We go down," he said. "We look at the anchor point. We learn the name of the thing that thinks it owns your dead." Alaric swallowed. "You're talking about entering the other side," he said. Bonnie nodded slowly, fear and resolve mixing. "Or at least touching the veil," she said. "If we do it right, we can see without falling in." Caroline's eyes narrowed. "And if we do it wrong?" Bonnie didn't answer. They all knew the answer. Damon looked at Lucifer. "If you can do anything," he said, "why do you need her?" Lucifer's gaze turned sharp. "Because your world has rules," he said. "And your witch is part of those rules. I can kick the door," he added, "but she knows where the hinges are." Bonnie's breath shook. She hated that it made sense. Elena's voice was quiet. "Do it," she said. Everyone turned to her. Stefan's voice went firm. "No," he said. "Not if it risks you." Elena met Stefan's eyes. "It already risks me," she said. "I can feel it. It's like something is waiting for me to slip." Damon's face hardened. "We do it," he said. "But we do it our way, with every backup we have." Lucifer smiled faintly. "Now you're speaking my language," he said. Damon glared. "Don't get comfortable." Lucifer's smile widened. "Too late," he said. They chose the Bennett property because it was old magic ground. Bonnie led them through trees and quiet paths, past places that felt heavy with memory. The air smelled like dirt and winter leaves. She stopped at a clearing where the grass grew thinner and the earth looked darker. "This is a thin place," Bonnie said, voice low. "It's not the other side, but it's close enough to touch it." Alaric carried supplies, salt, candles, ropes, and a medical kit that felt silly against what they were about to do. Caroline stood watch at the edge of the clearing, ears tuned to the woods. Stefan stayed close to Elena like a shadow. Damon prowled around the circle Bonnie drew, checking every angle like the enemy might jump out from behind a tree. Lucifer stood just outside the circle, hands behind his back, like a guest waiting for the host to begin. Bonnie set down candles and spoke softly to herself. Her voice shook once, then steadied. "You're sure?" Stefan asked her. Bonnie didn't look up. "No," she said, "but I'm doing it anyway." Elena's hands trembled. "If it tries to pull me," she whispered, "what do I do?" Lucifer glanced at her. "Don't lie to yourself," he said simply. Elena blinked. "What?" Lucifer's eyes were calm. "It feeds on the parts you hide," he said. "If you face them, the hook slips." Damon muttered, "That's comforting." Lucifer looked at Damon. "You should try it sometime," he said. Damon's mouth tightened. "I prefer denial," he said. Lucifer smiled, like that was a confession too. Bonnie raised her hands over the circle. "Everyone inside the boundary," she said. "No one breaks it." Damon stepped in first, like he could bully the ritual into behaving. Stefan and Elena followed. Alaric stepped in carefully. Caroline stayed half in, half out, watching. Bonnie took a breath and began. Her words were simple, but the air changed as she spoke them. The candles flared without wind. The ground under the circle seemed to cool. Bonnie felt her magic stretch, reaching for a wall most people never touched. Her vision blurred at the edges. Then she felt it. The veil. It was like touching a thin sheet of glass with a crack running through it. The crack wasn't new. The crack had just gotten wider. Bonnie's breath hitched. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, I have it." Lucifer stepped closer. His eyes sharpened. He didn't look impressed. He looked focused, like he was reading a map. "Hold it steady," Lucifer said. Bonnie's jaw tightened. "I'm trying." Damon's voice snapped. "Don't tell her what to do." Lucifer didn't even glance at him. "If she loses the thread, you all bleed," he said calmly. That shut Damon up. Elena's heart pounded. She stared into the center of the circle. The air there darkened, then thinned, like a window was opening. Shapes appeared. Not bodies. Echoes. Faces that looked like people Elena knew, but wrong. Too pale. Too empty. A whisper slid across the clearing, soft as breath. "Elena." Elena froze. Her skin went cold. Stefan grabbed her hand. "Elena," he said, steady. "Stay with me." Elena nodded, but her eyes stayed locked on the dark center. A second voice joined the first, and another. Bonnie's head throbbed. "They're coming through," she whispered. "Not fully, but—" Lucifer leaned in slightly. Eyes narrowed. "Not them," he said. "Him." Bonnie felt it too then. A pressure, deeper than spirits. A mind. A hunger. The dark window rippled like water. The red corridor appeared for a heartbeat, then vanished again. And a voice spoke. Not kind now. Not soft. "You opened my door." Damon's shoulders tensed. "There you are," he muttered. Bonnie's hands shook, but she kept the spell. "Who are you?" she demanded. A laugh slid through the clearing like a knife through cloth. "Names are power." Lucifer's voice cut clean through the pressure. "You're not in a position to negotiate," he said. The darkness trembled. "You think you're above this world," the voice said, colder. "But you are inside it now." Lucifer smiled, sharp and bright. "And you think you're a king," he said. "You're a parasite in a small system." The pressure slammed into the circle. The candles flickered violently. Bonnie cried out as her magic strained, like someone had grabbed her wrists from the inside. Elena gasped, clutching her chest. The invisible thread on her soul yanked. Hard. She stumbled forward as if pulled by a rope. Stefan caught her waist. "Elena!" he shouted. Elena's vision blurred. She saw the corridor again. She heard the voice close, pleased. "Come to me." Elena's mouth opened, and a confession almost fell out. Something dark and tired inside her wanted to stop fighting, wanted to give up, wanted someone else to decide. Then Lucifer's voice came, calm and sharp, right in the center of it. "Elena," Lucifer said. Elena blinked, dazed. Lucifer met her eyes, and for a split second, Elena felt like he saw every fear she had, every death, every coffin, every time she had smiled anyway. Lucifer's voice stayed simple. "Tell the truth," he said. "To yourself." Elena's breath shook. "I'm scared," she whispered. The thread tugged again. Elena gritted her teeth. "I'm scared," she said louder, like she was taking ownership of it. "I'm tired. I'm angry. And I don't want to die." The pressure hesitated. Bonnie felt it. The hook slipped a fraction. Lucifer nodded once. "Good," he said. Damon stared, tense and furious, because it was working and he hated that he couldn't punch it. The voice hissed, annoyed now. "You can't protect them forever." Lucifer's smile turned cold. "Watch me," he said. He stepped closer to the dark window. Bonnie felt her magic scream in warning, because Lucifer wasn't just looking. He was reaching in a way she couldn't explain. The darkness folded around him, not swallowing, but bending. Lucifer's eyes flashed with something older than light. He spoke one word, not loud, not dramatic, just final. "Name." The clearing shook. The voice snapped back like it had been struck. For the first time, it sounded angry instead of amused. "Arcadius." Bonnie's eyes widened. "Cade," she whispered, the name clicking into place like a key she didn't want. Damon's face hardened. "Great," he muttered. "We just made introductions." Lucifer smiled like he'd won a point. "Cade," he said, tasting it. "So you do have a name." The pressure surged again, bigger. The veil tore wider than Bonnie meant. Ghosts spilled through like smoke, twisting shapes with faces. Caroline swore and moved, guiding Alaric back as the air turned sharp and cold. A dead voice screamed in Elena's ear. Bonnie cried out, blood spotting at her nose as her magic strained. Lucifer didn't flinch. Cade's voice boomed through the clearing, harsh and hungry. "You opened my world. Now I will feed." The ground under the circle cracked. The dark window widened. And then Mystic Falls' side quest became a disaster. Klaus arrived because Klaus always arrived when power was on display. He stepped out of the trees with 2 vampires behind him, calm as if this was a party he'd been invited to. He took in the scene in one glance, the ritual circle, the ghost shapes, Bonnie bleeding, Damon braced like a fighter, Stefan holding Elena, and Lucifer standing in the center like the storm belonged to him. Klaus's smile flickered with real interest. "Well," Klaus said, voice smooth, "this is quite the gathering." Damon's head snapped toward him. "Not now," Damon snarled. Klaus lifted his hand slightly. "I'm not the one ripping holes in reality," he said, eyes sliding to Lucifer. "Though I must say, it's impressive." Lucifer glanced at Klaus as if Klaus were a loud insect. "You brought friends," Lucifer said. Klaus's smile widened. "I brought options," he replied. Before Damon could answer, the veil yanked again. A ghost shape slammed into the circle like a wave. Alaric stumbled back, catching himself on a tree. Caroline moved to stabilize him, eyes wide but controlled. Bonnie's knees buckled. She forced herself upright, hands shaking as she fought to keep the ritual from exploding outward. "Elena," Stefan whispered, voice tight. "Look at me. Don't listen to anything else." Elena nodded, tears in her eyes, because the voices were not just loud, they were personal. They sounded like people she had lost. Cade's voice slid into the clearing again, pleased now. So many guilty hearts. So many secrets. Lucifer's gaze hardened. He lifted one hand. The ghost shapes froze mid-lunge, like the air around them had been thickened into glass. Damon stared despite himself. Klaus's eyes widened slightly, and that was rare. Lucifer's voice was calm. "Bonnie," he said, "close the window to a slit." Bonnie gasped. "I can't." She swallowed. "It's pulling." Lucifer's tone didn't rise. "Yes," he said. "So pull back." Bonnie's jaw clenched. She forced her magic to tighten like a fist. The veil shuddered. The opening narrowed a fraction. Cade hissed inside their heads. If you close it, they die. Elena flinched. Damon snapped, "Shut up!" Lucifer smiled, almost bored. "Threats," he said. Predictable. Then Lucifer did something that made Bonnie's skin crawl. He didn't blast the veil. He didn't smash it. He leaned into the rules like he was stepping into a courtroom. He spoke clearly, like he was making a contract. "Arcadius," Lucifer said, voice steady. "You will not harvest from this breach." Cade laughed. "Sharp. Or what?" Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Or I will rewrite the access," he said simply, "and you will starve." The clearing went still for a heartbeat. Even the ghosts seemed to pause. Cade's voice dropped, colder. "You can't rewrite what you don't own." Lucifer's smile sharpened. "I don't need to own it," he said. "I need to understand it." Bonnie felt it then, Lucifer's focus shifting, not to raw power, but to structure, to edges, to the way the veil responded to names and intent. He was mapping it in real time. Cade surged, furious. The veil yanked again, harder. Bonnie screamed as the strain hit her like a punch. Blood ran from her nose now, not just a spot. Caroline grabbed Bonnie's shoulder. "Bonnie!" she shouted. Bonnie's breath shook. "Don't touch me," she rasped, because if she lost focus, everyone would fall into the tear. Klaus took a step forward, eyes narrowed. "This is a bad idea," he said, almost casually. "And yet, I can't look away." Damon barked, "If you're not helping, shut up." Klaus smiled. "Oh, I might help," he said. "But help has a price." Lucifer glanced at him. "You're tiresome," Lucifer said. Klaus's smile didn't fade. "And you're fascinating," he replied. Then Catherine's voice cut through from the trees behind Klaus. "Move," she said. Klaus turned, surprised for once. Catherine stepped into the clearing like she belonged there. Her eyes locked on Lucifer with open hunger and curiosity. "Hi," Catherine said, like this was a date. Damon's face twisted in disgust. "Catherine," he growled. Catherine's smile widened. "Missed you too," she said. Lucifer looked at Catherine for one calm second. "You're the survivor," he said. Catherine blinked, thrown off by being seen so quickly. Then she recovered. "And you're the—" "What?" she asked, eyes bright. "The rumor? The myth?" Lucifer smiled. "I'm the problem everyone blames," he said lightly. Catherine laughed. "I love that," she said. Cade's pressure surged again, furious at the crowd and the attention. The veil widened for one dangerous second. A wave of cold slammed out. Alaric fell to one knee, gasping. Caroline's skin prickled with frost. Elena screamed as the thread on her soul yanked so hard she thought she might snap in half. Stefan held her, shouting her name, trying to anchor her with sound. Damon flashed forward and grabbed Elena's other arm, pulling her back into the circle like he could physically fight a soul hook. He bared his teeth. "Not her!" he snarled into the air. Lucifer's expression turned flat. He stepped closer to Elena and placed 2 fingers lightly against her forehead. Elena gasped. The world inside her head went quiet for one clean second. Not erased, just silenced. Lucifer's voice was low, only for her. "That thread," he said. "It's attached to your guilt." Elena's breath shook. "I have so much," she whispered. Lucifer's eyes held hers. "Then face it," he said simply. "Don't run from it." Elena swallowed hard. "I've gotten people killed," she whispered. "I've made choices, and other people paid." The hook tugged again. Elena clenched her jaw. "And I'm still here," she said, voice breaking. "And I'm still trying." The hook slipped another fraction. Bonnie felt the shift. She tightened the veil again, closing it to a smaller, controllable tear. Cade hissed, angry. "You think this stops me?" Lucifer straightened and looked into the dark slit with calm dominance. "No," Lucifer said, "but it limits you." He lifted his hand again, palm outward. The ghost shapes that had frozen began to crumble, not into ash, but into nothing, like they were denied access to form. Bonnie's eyes widened. She could feel him doing it without the cost she paid. Because he wasn't pushing power, he was asserting a rule. The veil shuddered. The slit narrowed further. Cade's voice turned razor sharp. "You are inside my feeding ground now. I will make you choose." Lucifer's smile returned, cold and amused. "I always choose," Lucifer said. Then he spoke again, clear and final. "Closed." Bonnie felt the last part of the opening snap shut like a door being slammed. The candles died. The cold air lifted. The clearing went quiet except for breathing, and Bonnie's shaky gasp as her strength dropped. She fell to her knees. Caroline caught her before she hit the dirt. Bonnie's head throbbed, but she was still conscious, still alive. Elena sagged in Stefan's arms, shaking. Damon stayed rigid, eyes scanning like he expected Cade to jump out of a tree. Klaus exhaled slowly, almost impressed. Catherine stared at Lucifer like she'd just seen a new kind of weapon. Lucifer looked around the clearing, calm, as if nothing had happened. Then he met Damon's stare. Damon's voice was low and furious. "You just called it by name," he said. "You just closed it." Lucifer nodded once. "Yes," he said. Bonnie wiped blood from her lip with the back of her hand. Her voice shook, but it was firm. "You know him now," she said. "Cade." Lucifer's eyes gleamed faintly. "Arcadius," he corrected, almost casually. "A petty king with a hungry system." Caroline's voice was tight. "And now he knows you," she said. Lucifer smiled, like that was the point. "Good," he said. "Let him come properly next time." Stefan's face tightened. "There can't be a next time," he said. Lucifer looked at Stefan as if Stefan had asked the world to stop spinning. "There is always a next time," Lucifer said, calmly. "The question is whether you'll be ready." Bonnie's breath shook. "We barely survived," she whispered. Lucifer's gaze turned to her. For a moment, he looked almost respectful. "You held the hinge," he said. "Well done." Bonnie swallowed, exhausted and angry. "Don't praise me," she rasped. "Help us." Lucifer's smile softened and then sharpened again. "I'm helping," he said. "But understand this. Your afterlife is broken. Cade is not the cause. He is a symptom." Alaric pushed himself up, grimacing. "What does that mean?" he asked. Lucifer turned his head slightly, like he was listening to something far away again. "It means," Lucifer said, "that someone built a system where guilt can be harvested like a crop." Bonnie's eyes widened. "The other side," she whispered, thinking of old magic and older mistakes. Lucifer nodded. "Exactly," he said. "Your dead don't rest. They linger. They struggle. And that makes a perfect feeding field for someone like Cade." Damon's voice dropped. "So what now?" he asked. Lucifer looked at the trees, the ground, the town beyond. "Now," Lucifer said, I finish mapping. Klaus chuckled softly. And what do you want for your help? He asked, voice smooth. Lucifer glanced at Klaus like Klaus was still missing the point. Nothing you can offer, Lucifer said. Catherine stepped closer, eyes bright. Everyone wants something, she said. Lucifer smiled at her, and Catherine felt a chill. True, Lucifer said. But what I want is not something you can steal. Catherine's smile tightened, but she didn't back away. Damon stepped in, voice sharp. If you're done making threats and speeches, we need to get Bonnie home, he said. Caroline already had Bonnie's arm over her shoulder, supporting her. Bonnie's eyes were half-lidded, but her voice still had bite. I'm fine, she lied. Lucifer watched her lie and didn't call her out. Instead, he looked at Elena, who still trembled from the hook. Elena met his eyes, fear and anger mixed. It marked me, she said. Lucifer nodded. Yes, he said. And now you have something important. Elena's voice shook. What? Lucifer's smile was thin. A connection, he said. A line back to the source. Damon's face hardened. Like bait, he said. Lucifer didn't deny it. Like a thread, he corrected. Stefan's voice went cold. She isn't bait, he said. Lucifer looked at Stefan with calm honesty. Then keep her safe, he said, and still use what the enemy gave you. Stefan's jaw clenched, because it was cruel, and because it was true. As they left the clearing, Bonnie leaned into Caroline's support and whispered, barely audible. He didn't fight Cade with strength. Caroline swallowed. Then how? She whispered back. Bonnie's eyes were tired, but alert. With rules, she said. Caroline's throat tightened. That's worse, she whispered, because rules could trap anyone, even angels. Behind them, in the trees, Klaus watched them go. His eyes stayed on Lucifer. Klaus's smile was slow. Now I know what to offer, he murmured. And in a motel room across town, Catherine stared at her phone and finally sent the message she'd been holding. Your devil made an enemy. Now he will need friends. She smiled to herself, because she planned to be one of them, whether he wanted it or not. 3 weeks later, Mystic Falls looked normal again. That was the lie the town told itself. The school had pep rallies. The grill had music on weekends. The Founders' Council talked about community safety and stress. People laughed a little too loud, like laughter could patch cracks. But some cracks don't patch. They just learn how to hide. Damon Salvatore saw the cracks every day. He saw them in the way people hesitated before speaking, like they were afraid their mouths might betray them again. He saw them in Bonnie's eyes when she tried to smile and her body didn't fully agree. He saw them in Elena when she woke from sleep with a hand on her chest, like she was checking if her soul was still inside. And he saw them, most, in the one person who acted like none of this was strange. Lucifer Morningstar. Lucifer had made himself comfortable in the Salvatore boarding house like it was a hotel he had paid for. He didn't eat. He didn't need to. He didn't sleep like humans did either. But he kept a routine anyway, as if routines were a kind of joke he enjoyed. At night, he played the piano. Simple songs, clean notes, like he was proving he could be quiet if he chose. Sometimes he sat in the living room and listened, not to the TV, to the house, to the hearts inside it. Damon hated that, because Damon could never tell if Lucifer was being polite or collecting information. Damon made that his own routine. Testing. Every day, Damon tested a different rule. On Monday, he tried the invitation trick again. He stood in the doorway with a smug look and said, "You can't come in." Lucifer looked at him. "Yes, I can." Damon pointed at the threshold. "It's a rule." Lucifer stepped over it and said, "It's a habit." On Tuesday, Damon laced a drink with vervain and labeled it tea. Lucifer sipped, paused, and said, "If you're trying to poison me, at least use something with flair." Damon glared. "It's not poison." Lucifer smiled. "Then why do you look so proud?" On Wednesday, Damon had Stefan hold a wooden stake like it was a holy object. Stefan looked uncomfortable. "Damon, just do it," Damon hissed. Lucifer looked at the stake, then at Stefan. "Are we playing fetch?" Damon almost threw the stake at his head. He didn't. He wanted to. He didn't. On Thursday, Damon tried compulsion again, but not from himself. He found a vampire from town who owed him a favor and said, "Look at him and compel him. Do it." The vampire tried. Hard. Lucifer blinked once and said, "That tickles." The vampire turned pale and ran. That one was Damon's favorite. On Friday, Damon went full stupid on purpose. He drew a big circle of salt on the floor. Lucifer stepped into it and said, "Now I feel festive." Damon stared at the salt like it had betrayed him personally. Lucifer looked pleased. "This is your hobby," he said. "I do admire dedication." Damon's jaw clenched. "One day," he said, "I'm going to find the thing that works." Lucifer's smile didn't move. "Perhaps," he said, "or perhaps you'll find something better." Damon's eyes narrowed. "What's better than a weapon?" Lucifer's gaze slid toward the hallway where Elena's room was. "A choice," he said. Damon hated that answer most of all, because it wasn't wrong. Bonnie Bennett stopped counting the times she'd saved everyone. Counting made her angry and tired. And she was already tired enough. She sat on the porch of the Bennett house with a cup of tea she didn't taste. Her hands rested in her lap. They looked steady, but she could feel the tiny tremble under her skin. Magic had a cost. It always did. Her grams had warned her. Life had proved it. Since the ritual, Bonnie's magic had felt like a door that didn't close all the way. She could still do spells. She could still protect. But every time she reached too far, she felt that thinness again. Like the veil was watching her back. Like Cade was smiling somewhere. Caroline sat beside her with a blanket, even though Bonnie insisted she wasn't cold. "You're not fine," Caroline said softly. Bonnie gave a small, tired laugh. "You sound like Elena," she said. Caroline's face tightened. "Elena isn't fine either," she said. Bonnie stared out at the trees. "I know," she whispered. Caroline hesitated. "He's still here," she said. Bonnie didn't ask who. She knew. Bonnie's voice was flat. "Yeah," she said. "He's still here." Caroline's eyes narrowed. "Do you think he's helping, or just hanging around?" Bonnie swallowed. "Both," she admitted. Caroline's lips pressed together. "That's not comforting." Bonnie sighed. "Nothing about this is comforting," she said. A silence stretched between them. Then Bonnie whispered, "When he closed the tear, he didn't force it like I would." Caroline looked at her. "What do you mean?" Bonnie's eyes were tired but sharp. "He treated it like a system," she said. "Like it had rules that he could speak to. Like the universe listens to him." Caroline shivered. "That's worse than strength," she said. Bonnie nodded. "I know," she whispered. Caroline's voice dropped. "Klaus has been asking questions," she said. "A lot." Bonnie's jaw tightened. "Of course he has." "And Catherine," Caroline added. "She's been seen. She's sniffing around like she thinks she found a shortcut out of hell." Bonnie let out a short breath. "Everyone sees him like a tool," she said. Caroline watched her carefully. "Do you?" Bonnie's answer came too fast. "No." Then she paused, and the truth came slower. "I see him like a storm," Bonnie said. "A storm can save you from one fire, and still flood your whole house. Caroline didn't argue, because Caroline understood storms. Elena Gilbert learned to fear sleep again. That was the cruelest part. Mystic Falls had taken so much from her already. Now it wanted her rest. Some nights were fine, some nights were quiet. Those were the worst, because they made her believe it had stopped. Then, on the third week, the dream came back. The hallway, the red light, the feeling of being watched from inside her own skin. Elena stood in the corridor, barefoot, heart pounding. The floor looked like polished stone, but it felt warm, like it remembered feet. A voice spoke from all directions at once. "You are carrying the thread, Elena." Elena swallowed. "Get out of my head," she whispered. "It isn't your head," the voice replied, smooth and pleased. "It's your guilt." Elena's hands shook. "I don't need you," she said. The corridor darkened. "You need relief," the voice said. "You need rest. You need someone to take the weight." Elena's chest tightened, because she did. She was tired of being the reason people fought, tired of being the reason people bled, tired of being brave every day. The voice softened, almost kind. "I can make it stop." Elena clenched her jaw. "What do you want?" she asked. A low laugh. "I want what you all want. A choice, a trade, a door." Elena's stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. The hallway shifted. Images flickered on the walls. Jeremy, Jenna, every face she had lost, every funeral, every apology. Elena's eyes filled. "You want to stop losing people," the voice whispered. "Then stop fighting me." Elena's breath shook. "You did this," she whispered. "I revealed what was already there," Cade said, and his name hit her like ice. "And you brought a rival into my home." Elena's hands curled into fists. A door appeared at the end of the hallway. It was red. It was familiar. It was the same kind of door Lucifer had stepped through, and Elena hated that. Because Cade was copying him. "Bring him to me," Cade whispered. "Bring him properly. Let him meet the rules of this world. Let him see that even kings can be bound." Elena backed away. "No," she said again, louder. The door handle turned by itself. The corridor wind rose, cold and sharp. Elena felt the thread on her soul tighten like a noose being tested. She screamed and woke up in bed, choking on air. Stefan was at her side in a second, eyes wide. "Elena," he said. Elena clutched her chest, shaking. "It's coming," she rasped. "It wants him." Stefan's jaw tightened. "We're not giving it anything," said. Elena shook her head hard. "It already has something," she whispered. "It has me." Damon didn't wait for a group meeting this time. He burst into the living room, threw open the curtains, and snapped, "Everybody, now." Caroline stumbled in, annoyed. Alaric came with a coffee mug and a tired face. Bonnie arrived last, eyes sharp despite her exhaustion. Stefan guided Elena down the stairs like she might break. Lucifer was already there, sitting on the piano bench as if he'd been invited to the meeting by the furniture. Damon pointed at Elena. "Tell him," Damon said. Elena swallowed and did. She described the hallway, the door, Cade's offer, the demand. When she finished, the room was quiet. Bonnie's voice was tight. "He's using the thread," she said. "He's pulling through Elena." Alaric frowned. "So he wants to lure Lucifer into his space," he said. Damon's eyes narrowed. "Because he can't beat him out here," he growled. "So he wants home field advantage." Stefan looked at Lucifer. "Can you be pulled?" Stefan asked. Lucifer's expression didn't change. "I can be invited," he said. "I can be tempted. I can be challenged." Damon snapped. "That's not an answer." Lucifer's gaze slid to Damon. "It is an answer," he said calmly. You simply dislike it. Bonnie stepped forward, voice steady. If he's trying to drag you into his realm, we should not let him control the terms, she said. Caroline's eyes widened. You're saying we should go to him? Bonnie's jaw clenched. I'm saying we should choose the door, she said. Elena's hands shook. If we go near that veil again, people could die, she whispered. Lucifer looked at Elena, and for once his voice was almost gentle. People could die even if you do nothing, he said. Damon's face hardened. Not an option, he snapped. Lucifer tilted his head. Then choose action, he said simply. Stefan's voice went firm. We do this together, he said. No one goes alone. Damon barked a laugh. Together? Against the devil's hell? Sure. Great. Lucifer smiled. Now you're being dramatic, he said. Damon pointed at him. You are literally named Lucifer. Lucifer's smile widened. Fair, he admitted. Bonnie took a breath and said the thing no one wanted to hear. If Kate is right about one thing, she said, it's that this world has rules, and he lives inside the rules. If we want to cut his access to Elena, we need to confront the hook where it's anchored. Alaric swallowed. In the afterlife system, he said. Bonnie nodded. Yes, Caroline's voice was quiet. And what's the plan? She asked. Bonnie looked at Lucifer. We need him to speak to the structure, she said. And we need Elena to anchor the thread from our side. Elena swallowed. Me, she whispered. Damon's eyes flashed. Absolutely not. Elena lifted her chin. It's already me, she said. Damon stared at her, fury and fear mixing. He didn't like being afraid. It made him mean. He forced his voice flat. If you get hurt, Elena cut him off. Then I get hurt, she said. But I'm not letting it use me like a leash. Lucifer watched Elena with something like respect. Good, he said. Defiance helps. Damon glared. Stop encouraging her. Lucifer shrugged. I encourage truth, he said. Bonnie's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I can help. I always help. You just never like how. K. Bonnie's stomach sank. Catherine, she muttered. Damon's eyes narrowed. Ignore it. Another buzz. A second message. Different number. If you plan to provoke a Hell King, I suggest you do it with allies. Klaus Caroline groaned. Of course, she said. Alaric sighed. Everyone wants in. Lucifer's smile turned thin. Everyone wants control, he said. Stefan looked between Bonnie and Elena. We do it today, he said, before Cade pulls harder. Bonnie nodded, throat tight. Okay, she said. Today. Lucifer stood. The room seemed to lose air for a second, like it noticed he was moving. Then we go, Lucifer said. Damon grabbed a jacket and muttered, I hate this. Lucifer glanced at him. You hate many things, he said. Damon shot him a look. That's my charm, Lucifer smiled, among other qualities. Damon didn't like that he couldn't tell if it was an insult or a compliment. They didn't go back to the same clearing. Bonnie chose a place even older, an abandoned church outside town, half collapsed, with broken stained glass and a floor that still held old prayers like dust. Bonnie said it was a thin place because people had begged for miracles there for decades. Damon said it was a bad horror movie set. Caroline told him to shut up. Bonnie drew the circle again, but bigger this time. More candles, more anchors, more safeguards. Alaric laid salt lines at the doors and windows. Stefan checked the perimeter. Caroline listened to the woods. Elena stood in the center with her eyes closed, breathing like she was trying to stay inside her body. Lucifer stood outside the circle, hands behind his back. Damon watched him like he was watching a loaded gun someone kept spinning on a table. Bonnie's voice shook once, then steadied. "Everyone ready?" she asked. No one was ready. They nodded anyway. Bonnie began the spell. The air cooled. The candles flared. The broken church seemed to lean closer, listening. Elena felt the thread inside her tighten. Her heart hammered. She kept breathing. The veil appeared as a shimmer in the center of the circle, like heat on a road, except cold. It rippled. It resisted. Cade's voice slid into the space, pleased. "There you are." Elena's hands curled into fists. "No," she whispered. "I'm here." Cade laughed softly, and "You brought him." Lucifer stepped forward. Not into the circle yet. He looked at the shimmer like he was looking at a locked door that had insulted him. "Arcadius," Lucifer said calmly. The veil trembled. Cade's voice grew sharper. "You don't belong in my system." Lucifer's smile was faint. "Your system is a mess," he said. The pressure surged. Elena staggered as the thread yanked. Stefan grabbed her arm. "Elena," he said. "Look at me." Elena did, tears in her eyes. "I'm here," she whispered again, as if repeating it made it real. Bonnie's hands shook. "It's pulling," she gasped. Lucifer stepped into the circle. Damon moved instantly, blocking him by instinct. "Don't." Lucifer didn't even slow. Damon's body moved aside like the air had gently suggested it. Damon froze, furious. Lucifer stood in the center of the shimmer. Then he did something that made Bonnie's skin prickle. He didn't force the veil open. He offered it a clean action. He spoke like someone speaking to a rule. "I accept the invitation," Lucifer said. The veil opened like it had been waiting for that exact phrasing. The church vanished. Lucifer stood in a space shaped like a courtroom. It wasn't a real courtroom. It was made from memory and judgment. The floor was black stone. The ceiling was too high to see. Red light bled from cracks in the walls like the place was breathing. Rows of shadow shapes sat like an audience. Lucifer knew what they were. Not people, not spirits with peace. They were guilt made into spectators. At the far end, a throne sat on a raised platform built from chains and old fear. Cade sat there like a judge. He looked human. That was the trick. He wore a calm smile. His eyes were too old. "Welcome," Cade said, voice smooth. Lucifer looked around, unimpressed. "You built a theater," he said. Cade spread his hands. "I built a system," he corrected. "A place where sinners pay." Lucifer's smile turned, cold. "A place where you feed," he said. Cade leaned forward slightly. "Call it what you want," he said. "It works." Lucifer's gaze stayed steady. "It's sloppy," he replied. Cade's smile tightened. "You're in my realm," he said. "Your power is not unbound here." Lucifer nodded once. "Yes," he said. "That's why you lured me." Cade's eyes gleamed. "And yet you came." Lucifer's smile was sharp. "Because you're pulling on a girl who doesn't deserve your leash," he said. Cade laughed softly. "Everyone deserves my leash," he said. Lucifer's eyes hardened. "No one does," he replied. The courtroom air shifted. The audience of guilt stirred like a tide. Cade's voice softened, like a salesman who had found a customer. "You don't like cages?" Cade said. "Neither do I." Lucifer's brow lifted slightly. "Liar," he said. Cade smiled wider. "Not a liar," he corrected. "An optimizer." Lucifer's mouth twitched. "That's a fancy word for parasite," he said. Cade's eyes cooled. "I'm offering you partnership," he said. "Share the feeding. Share the rule. You want to protect free will? Fine. Help me enforce consequences." Lucifer stared at him for a long beat. Then he laughed once, short and sharp. "You want my name on your business," Lucifer said. "You want legitimacy." Cade's smile held. "I want efficiency," he said. Lucifer's expression went flat. You want control, he said. Cade's eyes narrowed. And you don't? He asked. Lucifer's voice stayed calm. I want choice, he said. And you want obedience. Cade leaned back on his throne. Then watch what happens when you refuse, he said. The red light flared. A door appeared beside the throne. It opened. Elena stumbled through, gasping, eyes wide with terror. Stefan and Damon and Bonnie and Caroline and Alaric spilled in behind her, like they had been dragged through a hole in the world. Bonnie nearly collapsed on the floor, choking on air. Caroline caught her. Damon looked around, furious. Oh, hell no, he growled. Cade smiled, pleased. Hello, Mystic Falls, he said. Stefan pulled Elena close. We didn't agree to this, he snapped. Cade's smile didn't change. You opened the door, he said. I just helped it swing. Damon stepped forward, eyes blazing. Touch her again, and I'll... Cade's gaze slid to Damon. Damon froze mid-step, like his rage had hit invisible glue. Cade's voice turned sweet. And you'll what? He asked. Punch me? Damon strained, but he couldn't move. Lucifer glanced at Damon, mildly amused. I told you, he said. Fists are not your tool here. Damon snarled. Shut up! Lucifer's smile widened. Still trying to control the room, he said. Bonnie forced herself upright, wiping blood from her nose. This is his realm, she whispered. He has leverage. Lucifer's gaze stayed on Cade. Leverage is not victory, Lucifer said. Cade's eyes gleamed. Then show them, he said. Show them what you really are. The audience of guilt leaned forward, hungry for spectacle. Lucifer's expression didn't change. He didn't spread wings. He didn't roar. He didn't throw fire. He simply took one step forward and spoke with calm authority. Arcadius, Lucifer said, your system violates consent. Cade laughed. Consent, he echoed. Souls don't consent to punishment. Lucifer's voice stayed even. Punishment without consent is torture, he said. And torture is not justice. Cade's smile faded a fraction. You're preaching, he snapped. Lucifer tilted his head. No, he said. I'm stating terms. Bonnie's eyes widened. She felt it. The space responded. Like rules could be written here. Lucifer continued, simple and clear. From this moment, Lucifer said, you may not take a soul through hooks of guilt. Cade's eyes flashed. You can't. Lucifer didn't raise his voice. You may offer, he said. You may bargain. But the offer must be clear. The door must be visible. The choice must be clean. Cade stood, chains rattling around the throne. This is my realm, he shouted. Lucifer's eyes were steady. It is a realm attached to a human world, he said. And humans are built on choice. Your feeding method depends on hiding the trap. Cade's face twisted. They deserve the trap, he hissed. Elena stepped forward, shaking but brave. No, she said. Everyone turned to her. Elena's voice shook, but she kept going. You used my guilt, she said. You whispered like you cared. You don't. You just want me to break. Cade's eyes narrowed. You're already broken, he said softly. Elena's breath hitched. Lucifer's gaze slid to Elena. Tell the truth, he said. Calm. Elena swallowed hard. I am scared, she said. I am tired, and I still choose to fight. The thread on her soul tightened. Then, for the first time, it loosened without Lucifer touching her, because Elena had grabbed the hook and stared at it. Bonnie felt it like a snap, a clean break. Not fully gone, but weakened. Cade hissed, angry. Lucifer's voice cut in again, stronger now. Your access to Mystic Falls is now conditional, Lucifer said. Cade's eyes widened. Conditional on what? Lucifer's smile was thin. On permission, he said. On a yes. Not a forced yes. A real one. Cade's hands clenched. The audience of guilt surged, trying to drown the rule in noise. Lucifer lifted one hand, and the noise stopped. Not silenced. Ordered. Like an orchestra told to wait. Bonnie's breath caught. She had never felt control like that, not even from the strongest witches. Cade's voice dropped. Dangerous. If you bind me, he said, I will hunt you through every crack. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. Then hunt, he said, but starve while you do. Cade lunged forward, not with fists, with pressure, with guilt. The courtroom walls flashed with Damon's worst moments. Stefan's blood-stained hands, Bonnie's sacrifices, Elena's coffins, Caroline's fear of losing control, Alaric's grief. The images slammed into them like waves. Caroline cried out. Bonnie staggered. Stefan clenched his jaw. Damon's face twisted. Elena stumbled, breath shaking. Lucifer didn't flinch. He looked at Cade and said one word. Stop. The images froze. Cade strained, furious. You're rewriting me, he snarled. Lucifer's voice stayed calm. No, he said. I'm limiting your method. Cade's eyes burned. Then I'll find another method, he hissed. Lucifer nodded once. Of course you will, he said. That's who you are. He stepped closer until he stood at the base of the throne's platform. He looked up at Cade like Cade was a child, sitting on a stolen chair. You wanted a rival, Lucifer said. Congratulations. Cade's lips curled. So what now? He spat. Do you rule? Do you take my throne? Lucifer smiled, almost amused. I don't want your throne, he said. Thrones are cages with pretty paint. Cade blinked, thrown off. Lucifer's voice stayed simple. I want a boundary, he said. A rule that protects choice. Bonnie whispered, barely audible. It's working. Alaric stared, stunned. He's making law, he murmured. Damon's eyes narrowed. I hate that I'm impressed, he muttered. Lucifer glanced at Damon. That's your second hobby, he said. Damon snapped. Not now. Lucifer's smile widened. Then he looked back at Cade. You will not harvest from Mystic Falls through guilt hooks, Lucifer said. If you try, the door closes for you, completely, for a full cycle. Cade's eyes narrowed. What cycle? Lucifer's expression didn't change. A year, he said. In human terms. Cade's face twisted. You can't enforce that, he hissed. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. Watch me, he said calmly. The courtroom shuddered. A red door appeared beside Lucifer now, facing Cade. Not the same door Cade had made. A cleaner one. A truer one. Lucifer spoke, clear and final. This is the only door you get, Lucifer said. You may offer, you may bargain, but you may not hook. Cade stared at the door like it was an insult. Then he smiled, slow and cold. Fine, Cade said softly. I'll offer. Lucifer nodded once. Do, he said. Cade's gaze slid to Elena. Here is my offer, Cade said, voice smooth. Your friends will stop suffering. Your town will be calm. No more deaths, no more funerals. Elena's breath shook. Cade leaned closer, eyes gleaming. All you have to do, he whispered, is say yes. Damon surged forward on instinct, but the floor held him like glue. Again. Stefan whispered, Elena. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Her body wanted relief so badly it hurt. Lucifer didn't speak. He didn't pressure. He didn't take the choice away. He just watched. Elena swallowed. Then she shook her head. No, Elena said. Cade's smile twitched. Elena's voice grew steadier. I don't want peace that comes from giving you people, she said. That's not peace. That's a trap. Cade's eyes hardened. Then you'll keep bleeding, he hissed. Elena's chin lifted. Then we bleed, she said, and we still choose. The audience of guilt stirred, restless. Lucifer's smile was small, not proud, not warm, just satisfied. "Very good," Lucifer said quietly. Cade's face twisted with rage. Then he stepped back, eyes cold. "This isn't over," Cade said. Lucifer's tone stayed calm. "No," he agreed. "It isn't." Cade's gaze slid to Lucifer, sharp and hateful. "You think you've won?" he said. Lucifer's smile returned, thin. "I think I've limited you," he corrected. "Winning is for people who enjoy endings." Cade's eyes narrowed. "Then enjoy your middle," he hissed. The courtroom cracked like glass. The red light flared, and the church slammed back into existence. Bonnie screamed as the return hit her body like a punch. Caroline caught her again. Elena fell to her knees, gasping, but she was alive. Stefan dropped beside her, holding her shoulders. "Elena," he whispered. "Elena, look at me." Elena blinked, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I said no," she whispered, like she couldn't believe it. Stefan's eyes softened. "You did," he said. Damon stood rigid, scanning the shadows like he expected Cade to step out of a pew. Nothing moved. The air felt thinner than before, but steadier too. Like the crack had been taped, not healed. Lucifer looked around the ruined church with mild interest, as if checking the lighting. Bonnie wiped her nose, breathing hard. "Did it work?" she rasped. Lucifer's gaze turned to her. "Yes," he said. Alaric swallowed. "So Cade can't feed on guilt hooks anymore," he said. Lucifer nodded once. "Not in Mystic Falls," he said. "Not without consequence." Damon's jaw clenched. "And outside Mystic Falls?" he snapped. Lucifer's expression didn't change. "Outside Mystic Falls is outside our bargain," he said. Damon glared. "So people still suffer?" Lucifer looked at him calmly. "Yes," he said. "That's reality." Damon's eyes flashed. "I hate you," he said. Lucifer smiled. "No," he said. "You hate that you can't control this." Damon opened his mouth, ready to bite back. Then he stopped, because Lucifer was right. Damon hated it. Stefan stood, helping Elena up. "What happens now?" Stefan asked. Lucifer looked toward the church doors, toward the sunlit world beyond. "Now you live," Lucifer said. "And you watch." Caroline's voice was tight. "And you?" she asked. Lucifer's smile was faint. "I stay," he said. Damon's eyes narrowed. "Why?" he demanded. Lucifer looked at him, calm and honest. "Because I'm here," Lucifer said. "And because I dislike parasites wearing crowns." Bonnie swallowed. "So you're a guard," she whispered. Lucifer's gaze held hers. "A counterweight," he corrected. Elena's voice was quiet. "Will Cade come back?" she asked. Lucifer nodded. "Yes," he said. "But he will come differently. He will try cleaner offers. He will try smarter games." Damon muttered. "Great." Lucifer glanced at him. "You'll be busy," Lucifer said. Damon glared. "That's my nightmare," he said. Lucifer smiled. "It's also your purpose," he replied. Damon hated that too, because it sounded true. A week later, Klaus Mikkelsen stood on a balcony with a glass of blood he didn't need. He listened to a report from a vampire who had watched the church from far away. The vampire spoke carefully. "They went in," he said. "The witch nearly collapsed. Then the pressure stopped. Like the air reset." Klaus's eyes narrowed, pleased. "And Lucifer?" he asked. The vampire swallowed. "Still in town," he said. "Still breathing like he owns the sky." Klaus smiled slowly. "So," Klaus murmured, "the devil chose to stay." He took a sip and looked toward Mystic Falls. "A guardian," Klaus said softly, "or a tyrant in waiting." Klaus's smile sharpened. "Either way," he murmured, "I will be ready." Catherine watched from a car parked down the street from the Salvatore house. She didn't go in. Not yet. Catherine liked to arrive when it mattered. She watched the upstairs window where she knew Elena slept. She watched the front porch where Damon paced sometimes, like an angry dog. And she watched the living room window, where she sometimes saw Lucifer's silhouette at the piano. Catherine smiled. "You didn't take a throne," she whispered. "Interesting." Her eyes narrowed with curiosity. "Now," she murmured, "what do you take?" Night fell soft over Mystic Falls. The town breathed. The cracks stayed quiet. Inside the boarding house, Lucifer sat at the piano again. This time, Damon stood in the doorway with a small sign in his hand. It was handwritten in thick marker. "No devils allowed." Lucifer looked at the sign, then at Damon. Damon held a straight face for exactly 2 seconds. Then he said, "House rule." Lucifer's smile widened. "You're trying humor now," he said. "Progress." Damon grunted. "Don't get excited." Lucifer turned back to the piano. "Too late," he said. He played a simple melody, slow and steady. Stefan stood near the stairs, watching Elena sleep on the couch with a blanket over her. Elena's face looked peaceful tonight. Not perfect, but peaceful. Bonnie sat in a chair with her legs tucked under her, eyes half closed. Her magic felt quieter now, not healed, but less strained. Caroline stood near the window, listening to the street. She didn't hear screams. She didn't hear fights. She heard normal sounds. Alaric set a book down on the table and exhaled like he had been holding his breath for months. Damon crossed his arms and stared at Lucifer, still suspicious, still ready. Lucifer played on. After a while, Damon muttered, "So what now?" Lucifer didn't stop playing. "Now you live," he said. Damon's eyes narrowed. "And you?" he asked. Lucifer's voice stayed calm. "I listen," he said. "I watch. I keep the door honest." Damon scoffed. "You're not a hero," he said. Lucifer's fingers moved over the keys like the question didn't matter. "I'm not trying to be," he replied. Stefan's voice was quiet. "Then why stay?" he asked. Lucifer paused for the first time. The last note faded into silence. He looked at them, eyes steady, and his answer was simple. "Because someone should," Lucifer said. Bonnie swallowed. Caroline's throat tightened. Stefan stared, thoughtful. Damon rolled his eyes like the answer annoyed him, but even Damon didn't argue. Outside, the night stayed quiet. Far away, in a realm of red light and chains, Cade watched the boundary he had been forced to respect. He didn't smile. He planned. And in Mystic Falls, in a house full of monsters trying to be better, a fallen angel sat at a piano and let the world keep turning. The door was still there. The choice was still there. Life continued, just different now.